What separates the podcasts that are successful from the podcasts that flop?
Well, what I teach specifically is start a podcast for 3 reasons. Number 1, to interview people you want to do business with and build a relationship with. Number 2, get your social media content game in check and consistent because of the podcast. 1 episode, multiple pieces of micro content. And then 3rd is become a better communicator, which most people suck at talking. So a podcast gives you at-bats and makes, if you do anything consistently, the more at-bats you get, the better you get.
Baseball reference.
Yes. So we define success with a podcast, not with what Brandon did. That was amazing, and that absolutely is a great success story. But how many deals have you closed because of the podcast? Right. I don't care how many people listen to the podcast, download the podcast. I don't care about any of that stuff because you're focused on vanity metrics that will probably, and I hate to poo-poo on all of your dreams and aspirations, but most people will never get there.
Podcast twins from the Twin Cave. Vince is going to tell you what to do.
Look, every time we get in the Twin Cave, I got to say the same thing. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you follow all the other social medias under Podcast Twins. Definitely shout out to my Spotify listeners, my truck drivers out there, and do me a favor and just like, comment, share, give it to somebody else because that's the only way this is going to get around. So with that being said, I'm going to bounce it back to my shorter beard wearing twin these days because he's got the 2 weeks going on there after the big shave down. Drew.
It only is going to take like 3 months.
Yeah.
We've decided. And then it'll be back.
We bet 10 weeks, so that's my bet.
All right, 10 weeks. So it's been 2.
Okay, there we go.
Well, I want to introduce our new friend, Sebastian Rusk. He's got a company called Podcasts Suck.
Love it.
And then in parentheses it says if you don't have one.
That's right.
So, Sebastian, podcasting seems to have taken over, but a lot of people don't stick with it. They'll shoot 1 or 2 episodes and then never touch a microphone again.
What was the number that for success? Was it 7?
So we saw that 10% of podcasts don't make it past
it was 3
episodes.
Yeah, 3 episodes.
And 10% of those that make it past 3 episodes never see 20 episodes.
Yeah.
So by that, your 97% is pretty damn close.
Yeah.
So, podcasting is everywhere. It seems like every business wants to start a boring podcast about what they do. And there seems to be a space for disruptors. There seems to be a place for people that want to talk about stuff that no one else does. It seems like the people that get too big, there's kind of a room to push them out at this point. So what's your, how'd you get into this in the first place?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. It's great to see you clowns again.
Indeed.
They're not twins, and this is not a cave, so don't let them fool you, okay?
That's propaganda.
Yeah, I've only been here 5 minutes, and I've just blown their cover, okay? So
we absolutely are identical twins.
Identical.
That's fake news.
No one can tell us
You
apart.
just heard fake news from Sebastian.
As propaganda, podcast propaganda. So as a keynote speaker and comedian and podcaster, those are all terrible career choices.
Okay.
But I got lucky, and I got my start about 15 years ago. Humble beginnings. Market crashed in 2008. I lost everything. Moved back from Newport Beach, which is a very expensive place to live when you go broke. Back to South Florida. I was a full-time single dad to my daughter. I showed up in a duffel bag, not in a duffel bag, with a duffel bag and my daughter in 2008. And I started over again. And I had done really well for myself, but I was ego-driven, and I was in my 20s making way too much money with an ego. And that's just a recipe for disaster, especially when the world crashes.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. It was a humbling experience, and I took a couple years to feel sorry for myself and suck my thumb and drink bum beer all day. Shout out to Natty Ice.
Oh!
Tall boys.
Oh!
Come on now.
That's a special beer right there.
You need a key. You need a key to
Natter Day. Yeah, Saturday is Natter Day.
Natter Day. Wow.
I made it every day.
Okay.
But I knew sometimes we know we have a gift and then we forget that we have a gift because a little bit of life shows up. And a little bit of life had shown up for me, so I forgot about who I was, but that dog's still in you, and it often takes a long nap, but it often wakes up growling. And I had one of those awakening moments happened right around 2010, and I woke up and I was like, I need to go see Tony Robbins. I need to awaken the giant within.
Okay.
So I'm going to call my friend that works for Tony, and I'm going to ask her for the details about the upcoming Unleash the Power Within event and Walking on Fire. And I got $6 to my name, but I'm like, we're going to put the intention out there that we're going to get to see Tony Robbins in Long Beach later on this year. So I called her, and she fills me in on all the details. She calls me back an hour later, and she was like, I totally forgot that my best friend lives on Miami Beach, and she's part of Tony's core team of 6. She travels the world with him. Now, at this point, I'm like, what could I possibly bring to the table for somebody who travels with Tony Robbins? But I was like, hey, everything's starting to line up. You literally have nothing to lose. So, get the introduction done, and let's meet up with this individual. And I met that individual that same day, and I made plans to meet her for a drink that Friday. And I'll never forget it.
It wasn't Natty Ice, though.
No, Natty Ice.
Good.
But it was TGI Fridays, because I originally said Smith the Walensky's, and my boy checked me and asked me how much money I had. I was like, I got like $80. He was like, let me break it down. If she has more than 2 glasses of wine and she's hungry, you're going to be doing dishes.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
So we moved it to TGI Fridays, buy one, get one, right there on 5th and Washington. I remember like it was yesterday.
Yes.
And this was my early experience of dealing with very intentional human beings. Mm-hmm. And I believe that God puts those type of people in your life when it's time to wake up again and you need to be told and given a specific word and message. And she sure enough did. And we were about 5 minutes in the conversation, and we'd hit it off, and she was really cool and the whole nine. She said, so what's next? And I said, I don't know. And she looked at me and she said, that is a problem.
That's a problem.
And that was the PG version. So at this point, these are my offended days. So I was like, who's this lady asking me in a very abrasive way, aggressive, if you will, what I'm doing in my life's a problem. And I was like, dude, you got $6 to your name. And she works for Tony and travels with him. So maybe you should stay open. So I was like, all right, let's do that. I said, so what do you mean? She goes, I'm going to tell you exactly what I mean. Let me ask you another question. And this is where everything changed. She looked me in the eyes and she said, Sebastian, who's missing out? Because you're not showing up. And I said, well, I'll be damned. I've never even pondered that question. Of course, I was so engulfed in my own world and my own suffering and my own, that I couldn't get out of my own way. And she said, you have a gift that not everyone has.
There you go.
And the audacity of you not to use it and bring it out to the world and change people's lives, wow, that makes you a taker. I don't know how it feels to be a taker, but I don't want to be a taker.
Yeah.
And I'm like, me neither.
That makes sense.
And she said, so what are you going to do about it? And I said, I'm going to start a company. It's going to be the biggest, baddest social media company out there. We're going to educate people on social media. We're going to help them with it. We're going to host events. I'm going to wear bow ties. I'm going to become an event MC and a speaker. And she said, cool, when's this all start? I said, today. And by Monday, I had the logo for what would become the company Social Buzz TV. And right around that time, I met a guy by the name Gary Vaynerchuk. And nobody knew who Gary was, but I knew that this guy was going somewhere, and he was not yet a worldwide phenomenon. So we quickly forged a friendship and relationship together, and he really helped me pave the way and lay out the blueprint for building a personal brand on top of a brand. Before, personal brands didn't exist. It was just build a brand.
Right.
Now it's build a personal brand, and one of the first things he taught me was that your personal brand in perpetuity is your reputation, and I never forgot that.
Absolutely.
So I continued to host networking events, and then I would go, hey, come back tomorrow. We're going to do a boot camp upstairs at Morton's. Stick around for lunch. So you'd come to my networking event. You maybe sponsored my networking event. You came to my boot camp, and now you're like, I need to do something with social media. Can you help me? And at that point, I was like, if you had a checkbook, you were my guy or gal, So it's like, how much is it? $300. Done. Let's do it. Eventually, I started to get some order put to that, and we had some monthly packages available, and I'm out there selling Greek to everyone because they're like, we know what this is, and we kind of think we need it, but we don't know how, so let's give it a shot. So they were always short-term, 90-day, 6-day contracts, but we got the agency to a point where we were doing multiple 6 figures, and I became a speaker and wrote a book and did all the things, but there was just something missing, and I was like, "What's missing?" Like I've done a lot of cool shit, but there's something missing. And as I continued to stay curious, 2016 rolls around and I was like, I hate what I'm doing. I hate the bow ties. I hate emceeing events. I hate this social media work. I hate everything.
Yeah.
And I had not heard this quote until later on, but it was so accurate at that time. And if you're listening to this right now or watching what the hell you're doing to consume this right now, if you are an entrepreneur and a business owner and you don't at least once a week want to burn it all down and go be a greeter at Walmart, you, my friend, are doing it all wrong. So that's exactly what I did. I burned it all to the ground, but not the way that you would normally think that I did. I decided that right around that time I needed a girlfriend. So I hopped on Tinder when it was still a dating app, don't at me. And I met a girl in Fort Lauderdale, in Las Olas for a beer on March 1st, 2016. And this was another pivotal moment where things started to change. And she said, I'm in this personal development program. And I was like, oh, I know all about personal development. I've been to Tony Robbins 2 times, and it was all BS. What I didn't tell her was I didn't do anything with that stuff.
Right.
So she enrolls me into this program 2 weeks later because I'm head over heels, and I'm just like, whatever you want to do.
Oh, yeah. The power of the...
Yeah, you aren't kidding.
Yeah.
And then she broke up with me in the middle of this program. It wasn't too far from here. It was around US 1 in Pompano Beach.
Oh, yeah.
And that program would radically change my life. It allowed me to go into myself and meet myself at a level that I didn't even know existed. And I thought that I hated everything around me, but I didn't. I just hated myself.
Yeah.
And when you hate yourself, you hate everything in your path and around you and anything you come in contact with. You're just a miserable being. And that was me. I was angry. I was frustrated. I blamed everybody. It was everybody else's fault. And this program taught me to become accountable for my life, to love myself, to start seeing things through a different lens, and to realize that people are in fact missing out when I don't show up, and other people are. I can spread that message too, and it can become my mission. And so I go through this program and deal with the heartbreak, and came out a new person. And I decided, well, it's time to get up and dust myself off again, mid 2016. So I went to a co-working space right around the corner from my house in Coral Gables, rented a desk, and ran into a friend of mine that I had known from events. We were getting mic'd up together at an event together, and we had like business buddies. And I ran into her, and she goes, "Oh, I have an internet radio show." And I was like, "What the hell is that?" And she couldn't explain it. Mm-hmm. And I said, "You can start a podcast." And she goes, "I don't know how to do that. Why don't you walk me down to my car? Let's talk more about it." And we got down to her car, and she said, "Why don't you?" Mind you, I'm trying to like figure out what's next because we're not going back to the bow ties and social.
Right.
We're not doing it.
Yeah.
So we got to figure out what's next. And she says, "Why don't you create a solution that helps people start a podcast?" And I was like, antennas up, bingo, ding, 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 ding. How do you leave the digital space and still stay in it? How do you disassociate from social media but still sell a product that complements it?
Yeah.
And then if we peel the layers back a little bit more, I grew up in a radio station. My dad was a DJ for 29 years. And he paid me in Happy Meals to cut all the tracks for the kids program. And I had zero desire to follow in his footsteps. But like a buddy of mine told me on the golf course a couple years ago, not too far from here, I was telling him that story, and he said, "Man, our genes sure are powerful." I said, "I don't know shit about genes." But my grandfather's name was Gene. Maybe that had something to do with that.
He's here all week, ladies and gentlemen.
That was
bartenders and waitresses.
That's it. One more time for the bartenders. So I found my calling and my purpose and my reason for doing what I do 6 years in to starting over, but really meeting myself at a place that I really knew who I was, and I could step into my power and take that out into the world and do something with it. And that something is that when I meet you and we get an opportunity to experience something or do business together or hang out, you're left different, and hopefully I am as well, but I don't care about that. All I'm worried about is that I'm leaving you better than I found you, and that I'm helping the person that I needed the most before I was able to figure my own stuff out. And I'm still figuring it out. It's a lifelong process, but now podcasting comes along, and the work that I get to do, you don't have to do anything, that I get to do and have for the past decade is being able to empower people to radically change their life and their business because they started a podcast. The podcast is just a vehicle.
Right.
Who they get to become is everything. What's impacted on their business, the new version they become, is all happening through a podcast. And people say, through a podcast? But like how? Well, let's start with the inner critic. That runs the show.
Yeah.
You forgot your lines in the third grade play, and everybody laughed at you, and you haven't said a word since. And then you continue, and you start to live your life according to that, and then you start enrolling other people in as if a story is actually true, and it's not. And I help break those belief systems and allow people to borrow my confidence.
There you go.
Until you have the confidence that you need to do whatever your thing is on here. I'm just a vessel. I'm not changing anybody's life. You're changing your life.
Right.
I'm just here to call balls and strikes and facilitate to the best of my ability.
So have you worked with
it.
any podcasts that have just absolutely gone ape and gone crazy? Like, can you give us an example or two of somebody that you worked with? I mean, obviously you put Gary V out there, and he's pretty popular.
Yeah.
Say.
He's that name in there. He's
somewhat popular. I see.
Yeah, Gary V.
I actually know him. I'm not name dropping.
Right.
Don't at me. Okay?
Right.
I gotta learn that term. What is this? Don't at me.
Don't
am I
at.
supposed to know that?
You hit at and you leave a comment.
Yeah.
Comment on something.
Yeah. Come on, man.
Hey, you stick around, kid.
Yeah,
I
we
guess.
get
I'm
them up. We bring them up to speed here.
Sometimes you gotta learn.
Yeah.
From the eye in the sky.
That's a great question, and it happened over the past couple of years, actually, recently, with one of my wealthiest clients and dear friends. And I preface it with that because this guy did not need to start a podcast. So if you are paid in full and you're listening and watching this right now and you think that you're too rich to start a podcast, I want you to hear me out on this, because Brandon didn't have to. He's a wildly successful real estate broker in Delaware. Hi, I'm from Delaware. And the Maryland area. And we were in the same mastermind group together. And I had casually said, hey, Brandon, you should start a podcast. I think you do really well. Your speaking career is starting to take off. You've clearly made a name for yourself in the real estate space. And it took him a minute, but he finally called me and hired me a couple years ago. And we launched the podcast called Wake Up to Wealth. And it's now in the top 5 on Apple under investing in real estate at any given time. He's amassed well over 1.5 million downloads and is currently getting 85,000 downloads per episode. For perspective, if you're a celebrity and a gigantic name, you're probably getting around 40 to 50,000 downloads an episode, which would justify you being able to put it in an ad network and fully monetize the podcast through ads and sponsors. He's doing double that.
Right.
And this all started to happen this year. It was kind of like this stockpiling. And then he went out and went the untraditional route with sponsors and said, hey, who do I already know that know, likes, and trusts me and believes in the mission of what we're doing? And they're doing between 25, he said 25 and 30,000 a month in sponsorship. And I'm like, so hold on a second. You're locking down well over 350 racks a year just from the podcast, Yeah. And I'm like, our job security is locked in indefinitely because the 10X on his investment into us and his ongoing is night and day. But that's probably our best. And is this normal? No, normal's a setting on your dryer.
Right.
This is not normal, but it was possible and it happened. And now Brandon is one of my biggest advocates. He's like a walking billboard for me. I speak at his events. He plugs me. He endorses me. When he sends somebody to me, there's no pitch.
Yeah.
There's no, I'm an order taker.
Yeah.
I'm all right with that. Brandon says you're good, you're good.
That's it.
And business goes so much easier that way, isn't it? I mean, that's why we're all networkers. That's how we all met.
That's how we met.
I mean, I gotta ask you then. We're talking about you starting other people's podcasts. What about your podcast?
Sure. So I host 2, which I don't recommend. Do not do that. I do 2 for this very reason. Number 1.
Yeah, definitely don't host 2. That would be insane.
Don't at all. Well, this is out the. But I host 2 for one reason. Number 1, 2 reasons. Number 1, when you know more than most and you have a gift, it's your responsibility to share that gift with anybody.
Right.
That's why I write books. That's why I'll often speak for free. That's why I'll do stuff for churches, organizations, nonprofits, etc. Volunteer my time and give back because it's my responsibility. So podcasts suck. A podcast about starting and growing a podcast is all my secrets. I break down my book, which is also podcasts suck. A step-by-step guide, by the way, if you read the book, listen to the podcast. You have everything that I know. I didn't leave. I left it all in the field. Because that's my responsibility to do so. So that podcast is designed to educate, motivate, differentiate myself from the rest of the people out there and educate people that I may never meet. And then also, Beyond the Story, which is my original podcast that I've had for 15 years, is my networking tool. It's my vehicle. It's how I get in front of people that I just meet, don't have a podcast, should have a podcast. I want to build a relationship with them and I want to make them a client. So I get on, I tell them their story, make it all about them, and then I go out and I teach that to the clients that we get the opportunity to do business with.
So do people realize that they need a podcast, or do you have to educate them? Because I'm guessing from what you're saying, most people don't start them like I started my On Par podcast, where a friend of mine who I had shot some videos with fooling around said, hey, you should start a podcast. Or like when Vincent and I started this one and we said, you know, we've had a great time on Par. He was promoting his charity golf tournament, which is coming up again, by the way.
September 6th.
September 6th. So, you know, he just basically said, like, let's start a podcast and we'll talk about anything we want.
Yeah.
And I was like, sure, let's do it. So, I mean, I got to imagine we're in the minority.
Well, these days, because podcasts are becoming more popular, it's more relevant and it's on more people's radar. You either know you should be doing it and you're not doing it, or you know you should be doing it and you're going to do it, or you don't even know guys like me exist, where you're like, oh, I would have done it way sooner if I knew that you exist, because we provide a completely done-for-you launch solution.
Well, but I mean, the best businesses solve a problem, right?
Right.
I mean, we were talking to JC a couple weeks ago about, you know, wholesome content streaming service for kids to combat the junk that they're seeing on TV. So he's solving a problem. You know, and that's, I mean, I met a guy who's pivoting his whole company to teach people how to use AI to help with, you know, growing their business.
Yeah.
So you did similar thing, is you just went into, okay, well, look, people want to start a podcast, know they should, have no idea where they should start.
Correct.
Which is where I started, and fortunately I had, you know, advice from people that were in broadcasting. But if I didn't have, you know, hey, you should use Spreaker.com for this, and this for this, and this to distribute it, and all that, I mean, I would have been completely flying blind.
Yeah.
And I may never have started.
Yeah, well, starting is, like you said, that's step one, if you know to start. But like you said, I had no idea that people like you existed. I didn't. I just, you know, because I've been doing little small things here and there on my channels, blah, blah, blah. But like you said, they can wash away really simply, because if you don't have that blueprint laid out, it's easy to quit. And I've done that. I've quit. And it was good. I quit. But that's because you didn't know what you were doing. You were literally just throwing the ball in the dark. Whoever's supposed to be catching on the other side, well, they weren't even on the other side of the field. So it's good to know that we have things like that happening. Even as we started this, you know, it was like, all right, we did research. I never did no research on shit like that. We just came in here and went to work. But as we gone through now, episode 35-ish, whatever, you can see the growth. You can see that we grew because we've been doing the homework and we've been talking to many people who have helped us doing things like that. And then we bump into you at a networking event. Boom, here we are.
Yeah.
You know, that's how relationships are built. And then this guy was wearing a Chicago Cubs a cap at the networking event. And I said, I like that cap. That was the intro. Right there, and he was like, boom, 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 Chicago. So it was on from there, and here we are.
And I was talking about the Cubs the other night because my wife didn't know about the curse of the goat, so I had to tell her the story.
Man. Hey, listen, man,
I had to educate her on that.
We don't bring that up. We broke that.
Yeah, we did.
You know, we broke
We'll
that.
have to break it a second time.
Yeah, we're gonna have to break it again
As soon as we get past Philly, you heard.
Yeah. So anyway, Milwaukee. So anyway,
they're smoking everybody.
They're
though.
killing everybody.
They're like 8 games ahead of everyone.
Everybody.
Them and the Blue Jays.
Just on fire. Like, where do they come from? But that's the beautiful part about all this, man, is that, you know, it's work, but damn it, it's fun. I don't think we have as much fun doing anything else other than maybe playing golf than we do in here, man. We have a great time doing this.
I just told somebody that I was on the phone with Ariel with Ripple. And I said, you know, my coach just said to me last week that when work feels like fun, it's not work.
It's not work.
And I was like, welcome to my life.
Yeah.
And that's how you know, that's true success, that and freedom.
Yeah.
When you've arrived at that place and you know, like, well, this is not work.
Yeah.
I had to drive up here at 10 in the morning and record a podcast episode. Really? Guess what I did on the way up here? I listened to a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. It's a beautiful thing, man. So I enjoy it. That's why I couldn't wait to do this, and so we could not only learn from you, but like you said, we can do that cross thing, and I like having that idea of us building partnerships with people that are more successful than us. Because then that helps put us out. I mean, we've had some financial gurus come through here and literally take your entire skull and just throw it in the street because they dropped some words. I mean, I've had to watch them 3-4 times taking notes.
I thought we don't talk about those episodes unless we have tequila anymore.
This is a reference. The tequila's coming. Okay. This is a reference. But I'm just saying. But so to able to. When we're the smartest guys in the room, we're doing ourselves a disservice.
You're in the wrong room.
And that's why we're trying to do things like this, and also to help our audience who may feel like they want to come out here. Because I tell you what, in the beginning, nobody wanted to come. Now we get more calls to come on this show than we can field.
If you build it, they will come. That's not just a saying.
They have come. Before it was just going to be us, but then after that, people was like, hey, I want to get on there. I want to rebut this. I want to rebut that on camera. Cool.
What separates the podcasts that are successful from the podcasts that flop?
Well, what I teach specifically is start a podcast for 3 reasons. Number 1, to interview people you want to do business with and build a relationship with. Number 2, get your social media content game in check and consistent because of the podcast. 1 episode, multiple pieces of micro content. And then 3rd is become a better communicator, which most people suck at talking. So a podcast gives you at-bats and makes, if you do anything consistently, the more at-bats you get, the better you get.
Baseball reference.
Yes. So we define success with a podcast, not with what Brandon did. That was amazing, and that absolutely is a great success story. But how many deals have you closed because of the podcast? Right. I don't care how many people listen to the podcast, download the podcast. I don't care about any of that stuff because you're focused on vanity metrics that will probably, and I hate to poo-poo on all of your dreams and aspirations, but most people will never get there. So with that being said, if we forgot about downloads and numbers and vanity metrics, and we just focused on who am I becoming as a podcaster, and how is my business growing, and what kind of impact am I leaving through the conversations I'm having with people? When you start looking through that lens, every episode should be a success. And that's what I drive home and teach to people. I invite people to look at things through a different lens and not just what the world says. The world says how many downloads and how many this and how many that. And if you don't have those many numbers, well, then you suck.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or, and maybe that's not the truth.
No, but I mean, that's the same reason that marketing is a tough thing to sell. You were talking about your marketing company, because when you're talking to a small business or even middle market companies, they only care about an ROI. Right? So you have to be able to get them, hey, this is how we got from getting this many downloads or this many views or this many likes or follows or shares or whatever turned into actual revenue.
Right.
Or else you lose them in 60 days,
the conversation
90 days.
is going to turn into revenue.
Right.
That's
100%.
That's what I talk about. I got a guy, like Kevin, he's in our group, joined with me. Runs a retail point of sale, all the hardware, reward systems, everything before you swipe the card. He came here from Trinidad 3 years ago, opened up a company, and hired me about a year and a half ago. And all he does is interview retail locations that he wants to do business with. And he's made $225,000 with that podcast. Again, another guy where my job security is locked in.
Right.
Like he's not even thinking about there's a cost involved with the podcast. He's recouped that 10 times over on what he's done.
He's running to write that check every month or pay that.
Correct.
Every
Ask him how many
month.
I actually just forwarded him his download report because I got an email from Buzzsprout. He just hit 1,000 downloads. Boom. And he replied back, yeah. He doesn't care about the downloads. He cares about
the business it produces.
The businesses it produces. Exactly. And who's finding you in the newsfeed? Because right now, chances are you're probably not showing up in the newsfeed and talking about what you do and talking to your camera, talking to your phone that you have in your hand all the time anyway, and telling people what you do. Imagine that. Because if you do that, and a podcast allows you to actually do that, because you should be talking about what you do or something that complements what you do through that content. And if people find you through social media and that content, well, then you're like, okay, posting content on social, it only takes one for you to go, you know what, posting on Instagram works. Yep. It only takes one interview to go, podcasting works.
So how many times do you have to post and on how many platforms?
I would say that you post one place, you upload it to your podcast hosting account, and it gets distributed to Apple and Spotify and the other listening platforms out there, podcasts do not belong on YouTube. You can at me, not at me, but let me help you better understand where we're at with all this. So first of all, if you take the video recording of this podcast episode, and you put it on your YouTube channel, you now have a show on YouTube. Congratulations. Where did that show come from? The video recording of your podcast episode. A podcast, by definition, is an audio file uploaded to the internet to be consumed auditorily. That means we listen to it. Well, I learned different. Great. Some people like to watch your show on YouTube. Other people like to listen to your podcast wherever podcasts are available. And a podcast, again, by definition, is something you listen to. This whole notion around video podcasts is YouTube's what I believe is going to eventually be a failed attempt. And they don't fail much. Google does, but YouTube doesn't. At trying to get in the podcast game. Because these big, gigantic names, if you want to see Theo Vaughn or Rogan interview somebody or whatever it may be, maybe you want to watch that show because it is entertaining to go and watch. Because you want to watch it on your TV. Cool, you're watching a show. But there's a big conversation within my peers and within the podcasting industry of being able to truly preserve the sacredness of the RSS feed. Because the RSS feed was created by Steve Jobs to give everybody an opportunity to have a voice and get a message out there. Because what happens with an RSS feed? You don't see anything.
Right.
That information goes onto the RSS feed, gets distributed. What happens when you upload it to YouTube? Well, you only got 10 views. You suck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So while both are very, very important, I think the waters have gotten muddied, and it's YouTube and Spotify's eventual failed attempt at saying we are going to create what is now a video podcast, because we are, and Spotify wanting to get in the video space, YouTube wanting to survive in the audio space, because I don't know if you've uploaded or just added your RSS feed to a existing YouTube channel, but it is an absolute disaster because it trumps all of your existing content that's there, and all you see is cover art everywhere if it's just audio. So it's a gigantic, and I tested it out for myself to go, okay, let's silence some haters here and see what this does. It was a disaster. I deleted the RSS feed, cleaned it all up, and removed back to normalcy. Now, the clips that you're creating on social media, phenomenal, on shorts on YouTube, and there's nothing wrong with taking the video archive, throwing your intro, your outro with your podcast branding, and just very minimal edit, and throwing it up on YouTube and going, we're on YouTube, cool. But this whole idea of we need to be everything to everyone is where people go wrong. I believe you need to find out where you resonate well. Most people will resonate on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn for social media platforms. They want to have a video presence because they have no YouTube strategy. They don't have anything remotely close to it. So something's better than nothing, right? Debatable, but okay. But 4 platforms. So a long-winded answer to the question: Facebook, Instagram. Instagram's the hottest platform out there right now. Yeah. The magic's happening in the DMs. Reels is how new people find you. LinkedIn is a 365, 24/7 networking event of people that want to do business, that want to talk about business and life. Facebook's a backyard barbecue, and so is TikTok. So good luck. But people are still listening at 80 to 85% on Apple, and the other remaining 15% on Spotify. It may have increased slightly, but if you look at the other platforms, I know there's been a lot of fluff stats lately of YouTube's the most consumed podcast. Maybe if you're watching the video archive of the podcast recording and considering that a podcast view, but then you can peel back all these layers on here. But I say that for awareness purposes, not just to dig my heels in and enforce my opinion.
Right.
People are grossly confused.
Yeah, I mean, hell, you just scrambled my brain right here, because and again, we've dabbled on all of those, and again, we're still in its infancy. So yes, YouTube is big for us at this point. Spotify, we're building. I don't even think we got a LinkedIn yet, but that's coming. But
you guys have found a rhythm on YouTube, and that's the whole point: is exploring and finding out where you can get in, where you fit in. For you guys, YouTube has started to give you the most traction. Great, double down on it.
Instagram is where our reels blow up. That's where our reels pop. We just had a couple pop for 6,000 and 1,500 and all that. It just started
like a balloon.
Like it just started happening. So
Bang.
Facebook. The shorts and the reels there. So I think because we are probably dealing with the Gen X generation, that's where they're still living. They're still living in Facebook world. They're still living in, and they've gotten introduced to Instagram. So that's, I think,
but the new generation is all watch.
Yes.
In order for an existing technology to survive long term, the new generations need to adapt.
Yes.
That's the mildly terrifying part, but I don't give a rip because I'm an eternal optimist. And I think there's room for everyone to play.
Mm-hmm.
And my immediate reply to, video just coming in and really dominating. Well, when the television was invented, did radio go away? And there was a strong argument there because those were not content platforms.
Right.
Those were media platforms. Which were different. But I still look at YouTube replacing television, cable, which it already started to do, and then podcasting replacing traditional radio, which is done.
Yeah.
But it's not just podcasts and that's viewing YouTube as this giant threat because they're such a large, gigantic monster. It's Disney Plus, it's ESPN, it's stream this, it's stream that. Because why am I get $12 here, $19 there, and well, shit, YouTube's just gonna have it all.
And they're all owned by like 3 companies.
Yeah.
Did you see the list it is to watch the NFL this year?
Oh my God! Listen, that's absolutely insane. When we got to the point where we had to stop paying to watch regular football,
You just have to go to Kirfton's house. He's gonna have every package. He's on the couch, man. I know
legend.
he's watching football.
yeah, well,
That's a viable solution.
yeah. I mean, is he charging $5 at the door?
I don't- You gotta ask him.
Bring your own red cup.
You gotta bring your cup and your meat, throw it on the grill.
I think if you bring him some scotch.
Well, yeah, I mean
That's probably a good
That's a
entry
good entry fee. So I think I have some that he might like. So anyway, we'll make that happen. But no, man, this is awesome. This is because again, people starting because since we've been doing this year, I think I've probably had 7 or 8 friends that's inquiring, and I'm like, well, I'm not the person to ask yet because I'm still toddler. Just started to stand up on my feet, get a little rocky there. So. But I was not the person. But now we know where to send them because again, why not get that running head start and the push? But again, the why of doing it is amazing. The speaking of it, I like going back to your original 3 points as to why you're doing it. Most people are scared to death to vocally express themselves into any kind of medium.
People's number one fear. Number 2 is dying.
Yeah, I think.
Riddle me that
and
one,
that might
kids.
be neck and neck because they feel like they're gonna die.
Seinfeld had a joke
that.
about that in his stand-up where he talked about how you'd rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy.
Yeah,
or something
I'm
like
telling
that.
you, it's incredible. So, and I was just in Chicago a couple weeks ago and dealing with that with high school friends, and it got to the point it was Africa hot. And, I mean, it was ridiculous. I sweated through all my shirts, and I just ripped my shirt off and was like, screw it. I put a towel around my neck, and my buddy was like, man, I wish I could be that confident. And the girl standing next to him, she said, he's always been that confident. And I'm thinking, I'm just hot. And I don't give a damn at this point, because it was hot. I sweated. I had one more shirt to go to the next event. And I'm like, I'm not putting that one on. I got to have something decent to go out in. But the other people's perception of you because of how you've lived and how I've been on stages and, I'm a thespian. But I'm a lesbian thespian, a whole different conversation.
However you want
That
to.
escalated quickly.
Yeah. but doing those things, it helps you get over your fear fast. But now people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s and 60s who've been shy, we'll use that cop-out word, for all of these years, now you're telling them, hey, your business could thrive and grow if you get in front of a microphone or a camera and make this happen.
Yeah, it's amazing what the driver that is.
Yeah.
But that's the fulfillment.
Get them out of their own way.
And that's the biggest fulfillment I get out of the work that I do.
That's awesome, man.
Is being able to see people go, man, I could not even talk when I met this guy. And now look at you.
It's amazing. It's amazing. We had my buddy Walter Bond on here who travels the world speaking. That's my guy right there.
Walt's a good friend, man.
That's my guy right there, man. And he
Shark mindset,
Shark
baby.
mindset, baby. Got to have that shark mindset. But again,
Shout out to Walter Bond, one of my favorite human beings.
that's my guy right there, man. So anyway, he was here.
We're supposed to be going to Sicily with him. I have it on tape that
We
we're
do
supposed
have it
to
on
be
tape.
going to Sicily with him.
As a matter of fact, he's coming back to the cave soon. As a matter of fact,
Even better.
If you ever want to see how a perfect keynote is executed, go look up Walt on YouTube.
Oh yeah, he's all
I
all
spoke
over.
for him and Antoinette's group late last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Antoinette, sweetheart.
Yep.
That's my girl right there. So
She's the boss.
she is the boss. She runs the show without question. But she does it in a sweet way. But yeah, man. But he was here talking the very same thing as far as how to get up there and how to take your message and understanding. He does this through parables, but how to get you to change your mindset so you can be prepared to go out here and be your best person today.
Yeah.
It may not be tomorrow, but today I'm gonna send you out here and be your best person. It's your job to continue to build.
And we talk about that with kids all the time.
Yes.
And the importance, like taking them to a charity event, taking them to a networking event. You know, I mean, I don't know if you were there when I think my son was at 6 Degrees one day, and they're learning skills that they're not going to learn in school.
Oh yeah.
And,
oh yeah.
you know, I think it's Dana White who says, like, the people that are actually doers are going to just steamroll everybody.
100%.
Yeah.
That no truer statement has been made. You sit on the sideline, you watch everybody go by. By the time you start to move, and all of the food's gonna be gone. So you got to get in there and make it happen. But exposing kids to this kind of stuff early in life is priceless. They can't get it anywhere else. They ain't teaching a damn thing in school. Oh, it's stupid that they even have to go and sit there for 8 hours a day. And come out with this mediocre education that taught them what I believe his name was Adam, whatever it was back then, about how to come out and work the factories. You know, through all of these other big name people we're not even going to bring up today. I want to keep my blood pressure low. But that's all. School has not evolved in 150 years due to that fact. So they're still sitting in there 8 hours a day, teaching them how to go get an 8-hour day job. They're not teaching them how to think, how to solve problems. When you're up here talking to somebody, interviewing somebody, damn it, you better know how to navigate and figure out how to keep the conversation going, how to be interesting.
I feel like if they would let a guy like Sebastian into the school, the kids would actually want to listen to him.
Oh, yeah,
Because he's going to be talking
mean
about
change the
something they
curriculum?
care about.
Exactly. But again, they don't want that.
Like my daughter's 10, Sebastian, and she's a great example. If she's interested in a topic, she will be in it, all in it, like, you know, all in 1,000%.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's not something that interests her or that she thinks is important,
Squirrel.
forget it.
Right.
Well, that's me.
Forget it.
I'm still like that.
I think
53 years
that's
old.
all of us, yeah.
I'm still like that right now. You know, and again, I think we're going to go to schools and all that other kind of crap. I think that, anyway.
No, I think we should start lobbying to get Sebastian into the school. Let him teach an hour class. They would get more out of that hour than the other 8.
For sure. As a matter of fact, they're going to go to his class and cut the rest. You know,
because they're going to be posting on
social
media.
You know. But hey, look, that's the real deal, man. As far as, you know, helping us to raise and prepare this next generation. I tell kids when I coach football for a whole lot of years, baseball too, track, field, tennis, whatever. I told them the same thing. It's like, look, you go to school because you have to go. You got to go to school because, you know, you don't want your parents to get truant and all this other kind of crap. But you're going to show me if you really want to go to college by doing what you got to do in high school, because college should be free. If it's not free, then you tell me you didn't even bother to try to go. So that first 4 years of college should be free. And if you didn't work that hard, then damn it, let's come out here and go to work, because you need to find a focus as to what it is you want to do so you can either build that business or go work for somebody else until you figure out, I like that field. Now you have a reason to go back to school. If you go back to school, then like I think I mentioned on here the stat that most people who go back for adult education come out with a 3.8 or above, whereas opposed to the kid that leaves high school and go right to college. The average
when you pay attention.
You pay attention.
And you have
they
a
graduate.
strong why.
It's a 2.7 is the average GPA for the kids coming out of high school straight to college. as opposed to 3.8 or above. Those adult educators, they're paying their own way, but they're paying for the purpose of increasing their opportunity in the workforce.
They have a why.
Their why is bigger than anything
why.
else.
It's amazing when it happens when you have that why.
And so that's amazing. So, but now this generation of kid that's now 12 and 13 years old, he may not even need that because of the advent of the internet, the advent of what he could possibly do out here in the world with
Plus
podcasting, AI, and all of this other stuff. They may not even think that college is an option. And so that's why I think this conversation is utmost importance, because you got young kids, I got younger grandkids, and hey, we need to start figuring out where we push them, because they're ultimately going to at least start going in the direction we push them in before they find their own way.
The comedian me was that you just got to throw out like, fuck them kids.
FTK is my protocol. We all know that, all my friends. We scream that all the time. FTK all day. Yeah, so I actually have a shirt that says that. But anyway, I do. It's probably next episode. But yeah, man. Listen, this is what I'm talking about. This is about how to develop, and you're talking about making businesses grow. Damn the matrix of what your show is doing. I think that would probably, I lost half my brain on the floor right there when you said that. Like, nah, don't worry about all that
because the mindset bullshit.
Let's build the business. Let's interview the people we want to do business with, which we have done, I think, fairly well in our few episodes.
Well, you're talking about this younger generation. Imagine a kid that's 10 years old, 12, 14 years old, wants to start a podcast, and their payoff for the podcast is what they get to learn and who they're becoming as adolescents or young kids or pre-teenagers, etc. Imagine if I came to little Billy and was like, if you don't have 10,000 downloads, you're a loser, Billy.
Yeah.
Versus Billy, you're going to become a machine because of what you're learning and what you're educating, what you already know. Keep podcasting. You are way ahead of your time. Absolutely. And the kids in your class, he would be like, where's my cape?
Absolutely. Well, my son's 27. He was in middle school, and there was a kid in that school who was a truant. His attendance was very, very poor.
I can relate.
And so they called the father, and the father was like, I know. He's home working with me. He was was something in electronics, whatever, programming. He was a programmer. He said that kid made $43,000. He's in 7th grade. He made $43,000 in the days where I kept him home. How much are you making as? And the school's like, but the law says. He was like, well, I'll just withdraw him, homeschool him, because this kid's going to be a millionaire by the time he's get to be your age.
That's happening a lot. There's a lot of homeschooling going on there. When we were kids, homeschooling was weird.
You were the weird kid.
Yeah.
You were the weird kid. But now that's what's happening.
Still are.
but that's what happened. I'll never forget that kid, man. I never forget that. That kid was his dad had a small little, matter of fact, right up here, Lions Creek. His dad had some business, and he was so busy that the son learned it and was literally helping him, but he was paying him his own way. That kid at that point of the year had already made $43,000.
The irony that homeschooling was weird when we were kids, but if we send our kids to school these days, they're surrounded by classmates who identify as a giraffe.
Yeah. Or the one that's a cat that has to go in the kitty litter box.
Maybe
this is not a political podcast.
Well, maybe
not at all.
Well,
we'll be right back.
It can be at times, but we basically are anarchists when it comes to it. So.
Yeah, we're gonna shoot the middle finger up at the political side, but seriously, this is crazy. Now as a matter of fact, I saw a basketball player, Big Perk, the other day, saying that if you got a kid that's a basketball player and he's in school 8 hours a day, you're killing that kid. He's like, no, you homeschool him
and let him
do his 2-3 hours a day. And at first when I heard it, it shocked me. But then I had to think, damn it, that's what I did with my daughter. My daughter was homeschooled and she was on the tennis court 7 hours a day. And it works. She was a better student. Yeah, you had to create their social environment for them outside of that. But Hell, if you got a kid, he's already 6'3", and he's 12 years old, mom and daddy's tall. Hey, if that's what you want to do, let him go ahead and exhaust that, because once it's over, it's over.
Yeah.
Once it's over, it's over. So I had to, stop my old brain from saying, why would you say something like that?
Well, I mean,
to saying, that's who I am. I proved that 15 years ago.
Well, and maybe it's okay to be a contrarian is what comes out of this show, right? I mean, we talk about contrarian stuff all the time.
Brother, you're lost at this point. That's where we're at.
I mean, do you really want to be like everybody else? Have you met everybody else?
Can you imagine how boring it would be?
They suck.
Yeah. People are...
Listen, but it's the truth. I mean, to blend in is to be invisible. And who in the hell wants to be invisible? Not in my family. You're not going to come up and be invisible. You're going to come up and do something. I'm not saying you got to be a star, but whatever your imprint is in this world, you got to be visible. And so all my kids from the time they were little were taught how to look an adult in their face and have that conversation. And here's another cool thing that people like to talk about, especially in my real business, the fire service. They're like, well, you don't respect the shirt. I do. I highly respect the badge. But if he comes in and he says, hey, Vince, I'm going to say, hey, Bob, because I'm a grown-ass man. Now, if he come in and say, hey, Mr. Bill, I'm going to say, hey, Mr. Johnson, because I'm a grown-ass man.
I think it's Sarge.
No, not quite. If we start throwing out titles, then there's titles.
That
now,
one show?
In an emergency scene,
yeah,
I'm going to do what I got to do. But when we're man on man, come on, man. I'm going to respect you the same way you
Sarge is
respect
kind
me.
of a fun name, though.
Sarge is a fun name. Especially when they're not a sergeant.
Let's circle back to podcasts for a minute. So
okay.
when we're talking about these different podcasts, when someone comes to you or someone says, or you tell them, hey, look, I'm thinking it's time for you to start a podcast, what is their biggest challenge other than fear of the microphone or fear of public speaking? What's their biggest hurdle that they have to
I would say
over?
getting out of their own way. And that's what I can do. I can help them get out of their own way just by abolishing a few beliefs that they have about themselves and what they're actually doing. And that's a huge focal point for what we get to do. But I think that's it. That and their excuses. What's that? The only reason you're not where you want to be today is because of the bullshit excuses you keep telling yourself on why you aren't there. And it's the same thing. There's no perfect time to start a podcast. A lot of you out there sitting around waiting for money not to be funny, or cows not to moo, or the sun not to come up. And I'm here to tell you today, someday doesn't exist. Neither does one day. One of my favorite quotes ever is from Martin Luther King Sr., and that is, how soon not now becomes never. And we're talking about this, and we should be doing this, and should be doing... Tony Robbins said, I find people shitting all over themselves. We should be doing this. Listen, friends, nobody cares about what you should be doing, and definitely nobody cares about what you used to do. They care about what you're doing, but more importantly, why you're doing what you're doing, and even more important than that, what is in it for them. And if you can get that dialed in and start to live your life according to that, everything changes.
You're going to have to rewind that and re-listen to those 2 minutes, because
those aren't my quotes.
It was a lot said in there.
A lot of little Tony Robbins action in there.
It was a lot said in there, but it works. But again, I think that that's an impactful statement. Very impactful. Because
you don't hear people quoting Martin Luther King Sr. that much.
Hey, man, I met him. I was, again, being the son of a pastor, I met him. I was a little kid. This was while at a convention. And he was like, that's Martin Luther King's dad. No, it's not. Go ask him. I was like 7 years old, man. He was an older guy at that point, man. But yeah, it was cool. I can at least say that I was a kid. I know no better. But yeah, he was. It wasn't like we had cell phones. We could take a picture.
You should be quoting him.
No, but no,
you should be the one quoting him.
Yeah, I can't quote him, but I can say I shook his hand as a little kid, man. But no, that's dope, though, man. But I think too. You mentioned the financial aspects. Are they more afraid of getting the people that they need put in front of them? Is that something you help them with as far as bringing people to their table, or just giving them the strategies to help get their podcast where it needs to go?
So we it's a full, completely done for you. It's a 90-day launch program. I work one-on-one with the clients. This isn't a course. I'm not sending them to go watch some videos. We are in the trenches together for 30 days, and we do a call every single week, and we build the strategy, brand, concept, idea, who you're talking to, what you're talking about, how you're talking about it, why you're talking about it, where you're talking about it, and then every other component that goes into launching a podcast. A professionally produced intro, outro, promotional trailer, your background music, professionally designed cover art, that's the logo for your podcast. And then we put together the strategy for the first 2 episodes, which will initially introduce the podcast. And then from there, as soon as we launch the show, they immediately go into our 12-month incubator, where we're doing all the ongoing production for 4 episodes a month, and then we're producing 12 pieces of micro content from those 4 episodes. So all they're doing during the launch phase is what I tell them to do, and recording what needs to get done, and moving on with their day. And then ongoing, they're recording the episodes, uploading the raw content, moving on with their day. Episode drops, we send you the clips, you or somebody on your team schedules them out, and you continue to rinse and repeat that. You will never, ever edit anything, chop anything up, create a piece of content. That is not sustainable, because most people, A, are not good at it.
Right.
And they think that they are, and they're not, or they know that there's not, or they're just not doing it. Either way is a very ineffective strategy on there. And I found over the past decade, as I continue to peel back every layer of the podcast launch and ongoing layer, because that took a while to figure out too. I can get them to launch, can I get them sticking around?
Right.
And I had a client 2021 that changed everything. He was in a part of a mastermind group I was part of. And he said, hey, we used to be, you come to us, and if you launch in 90 days, cool. And if you want to stick around, cool, but you don't have to. And he was like, what's up with this optional stick around? Because the amount of money that I paid you just for the strategy, you could have just given me just your brain and that strategy and not lifted a finger, and I would have cut a check. In fact, I would have paid double. So, A, you need to raise your prices. Second of all, why is this optional? Once you get me launched, it is mandatory to stay with you for a minimum of 12 months. You lock them into a contract because, A, you get them to launch for 90 days, but then you got them for 12 months. If you get them through 15 months, they're never going to go anywhere.
Right.
I'm the first guy with this new structure. Send me the agreement. He forever changed the trajectory of my podcast and the business. And that's how I was able to get people to not just launch, but stick with it. Because when you're making the type of investment it takes to work with us, when you pay attention.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then you know that you've got an investment into this, but the strategy is recouping that investment on being able to interview people that are willing to give you money. So it all works together congruently, and it's only worked out that way because that's what I've lived. I was like, wait a second, I've been interviewing people I want to do business with for a minute. I've been taking the podcast content, chopping it up, posting it on social for a minute.
Right.
Who I was in 2010 and the communicator I am now on stage is a whole different human being.
Yeah.
I'm living out and living proof and an excellent case study for what I get out in the world and people give me money to do on there.
Well, since all that's rocking and rolling, man, I just want to know when you're getting back on stage to do some more stand-up comedy, man.
Yeah, comedy's painful.
Yeah, it is painful.
The hours are painful. The hours are painful. A majority of my comedy is done through my content and through my speaking. I don't really have a desire to go sit at clubs and hit open mics and tell jokes to people that I'll never see again. I really don't care about it. I became a comedian because I was terrified of it. I could go deliver a keynote in front of 10,000 people, but ask me to tell jokes in front of 50 drunk people, I'm out. And I got set up by a buddy of mine that started the Miami comedy scene. And he's like, hey, man, we're doing an open. I had him on the podcast. He's like, I know exactly who you are. I've been following you for a couple of years. There's no way that you are terrified of comedy. I'm doing an open mic in Doral next week. You should come out. I was like, all right, I can do an open mic. And I showed up there, and he goes, all right, you're third up. And I'm like, on the open mic list? He goes, no, in the showcase. Don't bomb.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
And I did 7 minutes and brought the house down. And I was like, that's a wrap. Adding comedian to the episode. To the audience.
Good advice. Man. Don't bomb. I like
don't
it.
Don't bomb. That's like telling the guy on the golf course, hey, don't hit the ball in the water.
Don't hook it.
Don't put it in the water.
What water?
Yeah, exactly. Mindset, shark mindset.
There's no water on your golf course.
No water
for
on
your
my
golf
course.
tournament, right?
Nope, absolutely not.
It's all mirages.
It is nothing but fun and prizes and just good times.
Is it that course right off US 1?
Yes, it's Pompano Beach Municipal, the newly renovated side.
Love
it. It's beautiful, man. We did it last year. It was amazing. But the best part is
I'll be there.
Our why is we get to help a whole bunch of young men find their way in the future.
Let's go.
And that is what it's all about at this point. So I'm actually going to make sure that they watch episodes like this, because this is that alternative education. And anybody that knows me knows that you go to school because you got to go, man. I'm about the alternative education. I'm about learning from people that's out here
School of Hard Knocks,
making it happen. Let's learn from real people that's grinding.
Well, one day real soon we're going to be talking about that golf tournament as the thing that started and changed the trajectory of our entire
100%.
careers, because that's how we
because
got
you guys
introduced.
got on the golf course, got drunk, and had an idea to start a podcast.
No, not
Before
at
that,
all.
I
Not
came
at
on
all.
his On
He came
Par.
on Par, and he was.
We basically took over the show.
We had fun.
We took over the show. On Par is, was kind of mild and meek. And once he and I started going, and the shit started flying from one end of the room to the next, and I was like,
we gotta do something with this.
we could do something with
And
this.
we found out that we were going on the same golf trip.
Same golf trip.
That weekend or the weekend after, or something like
weekend.
It was
That's
that weekend.
wild.
Yeah.
That's fate right there.
And it was like, boom, we was out there. No, it was the next weekend because my tournament was coming. And the
Did
weekend after that.
Did Dawn change her name to Fate? Is that what you just said?
Her
Fate?
name should be
Her
Fate.
name should
Her
be
name
Fate.
should. She just texted me right now. Her name should be Fate. But no, that's awesome, man. I love it. But that's why I love doing things like this, so we can hopefully shape young and old minds. Because hell, in this world today, you can be 50 years old and lose your job, and what the hell you gonna do
You have
next?
to figure it out.
You got to figure it out, because nobody's in a rush to hire you at the salary you were making at your previous job now, when they can go and hire two 23-year-olds to come and replace you and still save money.
Yeah.
So something like this could still be beneficial to that person, so to anybody. So
I got a word for your audience here. Are we closing things out?
We can probably
Yeah.
be closing things out pretty soon here. Yep.
Speaker tip right there. If you don't know whether things are getting closed out, just quickly go, as we close things out. Jokes aside, if you're watching this, listen to this, whatever you're doing with this content on here, maybe it's a clip that you're seeing and this is something that you need to hear right now, because there's no mistakes at all. I want to set the record straight, and I want to clear the air real quick for you and anybody else that may be watching this. And that is, yes, you can. Sounds a little woo-woo. Sounds a little motivational, Tony Robbins-ish. Sometimes, more than not, we need a little bit of woo to wake us up and remind us who we are. So I wanted to do that for everybody watching and listening, and reminding you that yes, you can, because somewhere along the line, somebody told you that you couldn't do something and you believed them. And then you started to live your life according to that, and living according to a story that isn't even true. So friends, today I invite you to consider the idea that today is the day that it all changes, because you said that it's going to change. You can do whatever you want to do as long as you decide and put that declaration out there. So I hope that's a good final word for your listeners and viewers,
Just
etc.
take the mic off and
Yeah,
drop
you
it.
just drop it and
drop
run out
it and
the
run
room.
out the door.
with all that being said, tell them how our listeners can find you, how they can follow you.
Yeah, I got a free gift for your audience as well, too, if that's all right
Gift
with you.
them up.
absolutely.
Yeah, give it away.
My Instagram is Podcast Suck. That's 2 plurals. Podcast Suck on Instagram. Shoot me a message. Follow me. Shoot me a message on Instagram with the word twins. And I've got a free gift for your audience that I want to give you. I also want to connect further with you. I want to answer your questions and be a resource for you on your podcasting journey. Maybe you didn't even know you were starting a podcast journey, and after this episode you are. If you think, hold on a second, I want to start a podcast, but I don't want to lift a finger. I need a guy like this to help me execute on this, and a team that fully supports that process. There's a link in my bio to schedule a call. I'll chat with anybody for 10 or 15 minutes about what's possible with us taking you from idea to iTunes in 90 days or less, so you can radically change your life and your business by starting a podcast. But I sure do appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, it's great, Sebastian.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming
Appreciate you
on,
coming,
man.
man.
Appreciate
Pleasure's all
you,
mine,
dude.
man.
Absolutely. Hey, listen, with all that being said, now you definitely got to click subscribe, because you don't want to miss anything
Smash
we're
that
dropping.
subscribe button.
Smash it, baby. Everywhere. Make sure you get it out to everybody. If we don't have a LinkedIn, we're going to get one. So we're going to make sure we get all this information out so we can keep bringing you great content just like you saw today. So again, with that being said.
Well, the only thing you shouldn't listen to, Sebastian, is Vince and I are actually identical twins. Don't let him fool you.
We're not in a cave.
Yeah, we're going to change this.
We are in a cave.
We're surrounded by trophies.
We are surrounded by trophies.
And
That's
nobody
true.
won.
True story. So we'll see you guys next week on Podcast Twins, and thanks for listening.
We're out.